I am running some thoughts through my mind, and I'm gonna be talking about. You see, what's really interesting about the times we're in now is that we're still watching a lot of predicted conspiracies unfold. And so this kind of becomes a part of your psychic landscape, if you've been paying attention, is all the things that had arisen, right? I don't think that they seem like they aren't going to pull off their war. But I don't know. The rhetoric is better, but all it would require would be globalist treachery, right? It's like, what's the big question now, right, for people, right? It's just like, I think we finally learned between 9/11 and the pandemic is that you need to be somewhere between rational and alarmed by these novel occasions because of how little faith we can have in where most of our consciousnesses have been. Now, perhaps more and more wisdom is piercing the veil now. Just because the mistrust is healthy, but we have a serious problem with those who trust. But then again, without those who trust, we wouldn't have any institutions at all now, would we? Right? So, things, like a lot of these events that do happen, though, they are kind of, if you're unconscious, you may or may not get directly caught up in it. Or you may choose to get yourself involved with it, making the assumption, because you're unconscious and you're believing propaganda, that you need to react and be in the realm of effect unto these psychological operations that may also have a live component, right? I mean, 9/11 had a live component, right? You had to deal with you personally having nothing to do with anything, being affected by this shit for years and years and years as a punishment for exercising your privacy rights. And then, if you were also exercising your freedom of speech rights, which inherently diminishes your privacy because you kind of have to, be honest with people unless you're operating under a system where you're just delivering lines, such as a news broadcaster. All a broadcaster does is deliver the lines. They're not the person responsible for the story. Unless they are not just a broadcaster. But typically, these broadcasters call themselves journalists just because they sit with a bunch of fucking articles from the newspapers, and they've got a large string of opinions about what they're reading in the newspaper, right? Like, this became evident to a whole lot of people, like in 2016, the way politics was. It's just like you would hear CNN quote all the time, like the New York Times and all these different Wall Street journals and things like that. And so the television was all secondary to the newspapers, and the newspapers were all secondary to other things. And then this is not to mention the intelligence influence of the Mockingbird legacy. Right? So here's the deal, though. You can put your mind in a complete fucking death spiral about all this propaganda. You take the black pill, right? You go into the nihilist, the pessimist. The terrorist. Terrorism goes there, right? There's something inherently nihilistic about terrorist action, right? Because you're not happy that there isn't a sanctioned military force of sharp, professional, honorable men with some sort of, proper authority to go off and do a deed against, to you, as a clear present enemy that has already succeeded. And now you're trying to win back something you think you've lost or have been denied. So anyway, the real question is, how much are you living your life in a manner that you finally have the wisdom to realize is necessary to at least have a option to not be entrapped by the system, by modernity, by society, by infrastructure? When shit hits the fan, right? It's just like you don't gotta goddamn fucking live like a prepper on a fucking commune, but you may want to have somewhere to go with breathing space, surrounded by people you trust, and is incredibly self-reliant, at least within a small contained eco, and I mean eco as an economic ecosystem. Anyway, I'm going to catch you guys later. This was about all I really had in thoughts on this one. And hopefully I don't live stream from my pocket again. It is absolutely insane what can happen to because, I try to listen to YouTube. So the YouTube app's already running, right, when it's in my phone. Because I'm working, I got like a YouTube program that I'm listening to in my ear. There might be some irritating fucking commercial that my hands are too busy to deal with. It sucks. It's like, I didn't even look at how long it was there. I just deleted it. I just immediately deleted it. But all you would have heard was me working, me like telling somebody, oh, hand me this, hand me that, or here, take this, take that, or I can't reach it. All right, be careful on this ladder, yada yada yada. And I was very, very focused because it's my hands needed to be very, very on point. Mind had to be following through on all the little things of it's not like people that don't like work just don't do meaningful work. or they don't see the meaning in their work. Usually there's no meaningful work, right? So like they're doing something, they just don't understand why. Like I understand everything I'm fucking doing. I understand the principle of stuffing insulation foam into every nook and cranny during a renovation, so you've got a nice, environmentally fucking controlled building for your medical center that you're building, right? So I understand something that I'm doing there that matters, right? Even if it's this low skill thing, like I understand what's up, you know, and I can look back and say like, yeah, man, I did the installation on that building, right? And that all has a certain kind of meaning. And I shouldn't have got off this exit. Damn it. Shoot, how do I jump? Can I jump back on? It's the easiest way to jump back on. Fuck. I got off like I'm going to this other exit, but I'm not. Shit, I'm just gonna have to take the post road. Alright. Anyway, that's my official sign to get off the live stream. You know, I've been going here. I've taken this trip now 6 times. Once in a while, something like that happens. All right. Have a good morning.